by Brittney Griner. We discussed her last week. We were very much on her side, and basically decided that, like, yes, we understand what the law is. We don't understand because she got 25 years that drugs are drugs here, and the biggest crime that was committed was that it was found in her luggage in an airport, which immediately comes in as trafficking. Now, in all fair, like I've mentioned before, I've interviewed Brittany a couple times before. Terrific, a very good interviewee, and very open and very honest and very interesting. And one thing that we did put on the record, but we it was on the record, we didn't actually put into the article that we did for the Basketball League website, was that one of the reasons when I asked her why come to Russia, she said about the amount of money she makes here compared to what she makes in the WNBA, even though she was #1 draft pick. And one of the issues was that she had to earn the money here because she's paying child maintenance at home as well with the twin children that her ex-wife gave birth to. Something that was, it goes to show the character of the person more than what we're only seeing about now in the media. One thing she said just now, direct quote from the court. When she spoke in the court, it was, you really, really felt for her, but this is her, she's very direct, very honest. She said, that I understand everything that has been said against me, the charges that are against me, that's why I pled guilty, but I had no intention to break any Russian laws. She said that she was in a hurry, she just suffered from COVID, and she was like rushing back in and forgot to remove this, the vape with the cannabis oil in it. Andrew, it's not a new situation in Russia. It's a very difficult situation. In the States, a lot of people, when Joe Biden says it's unacceptable, there are people saying that this is unfair, it's a miscarriage of justice. From her side, and she's a very direct and honest person, from her side, she just said, look, I did wrong, I know it is, so if I own up, give me a bit of mercy.
Yeah, it's a tricky subject, isn't it? And, from the United States' side, it's all about, whether they're an individual like Brittany is unlawfully detained or not. That's the term that the State Department uses for those that they're really going to advocate for in situations like this. And they've named her as unlawfully detained. It's a tricky verbiage, I suppose, or terminology, because was she unlawfully detained? Probably it was lawfully detainment. But then is the sentence really commensurate with what occurred? I don't know. And from the American side, I would say no, absolutely not. And I'm all for the United States trying to bring her home, as well as the other Americans that are detained in Russian prisons. But at the same time, it's tricky, right? Where they're offering, potentially Victor Bout. And we talked about him last week and who he is as an individual, offering him up in exchange for Paul Whelan and Brittany and hopefully others. But it's difficult. Are we putting the world in danger by bringing her home? It's very possible if it's a guy like Victor Bout that's being released. And so, Brittney Griner makes the news here, certainly right now. And like you said, she's very open. She's always been very open in her career about who she is and what she's struggled with. And she's had a lot of struggles. She's, she knows she's not perfect, and she admits that, but she also is very open about what she has struggled with in her life. And so, she's in the news a lot. Some of the other Americans are not in the news as much right now that are detained in Russia. But, I'm all for the U.S. doing whatever they can to bring her home within reason.
Yeah. I mean, the last count, I think it was like 200 and something Americans imprisoned abroad, ranging from murder to drug smuggling to basically, for example, tax evasion. They've been, they were caught somewhere. He said, why this whole thing? And I heard this on CNN, and it's let's just say someone I know well, the CNN reporter here, Fred from Germany, and he said that he played it down because he was asked a very leading question of, was it because she is a black lesbian that she was, detained? Is there a way out of this for her? And is it fair to be trading her for somebody who basically, is an arms dealer?
Yes, there's a few things that crop up. Obviously, she pleaded guilty, so that's an admission of wrongdoing, and she's not. From my understanding, at no point was she contesting, because she obviously admitted she forgot when parking. to remove her vape, but it's a case of she wasn't contesting the charges. Something, when it's black and white, when something is illegal or not, it's illegal. The circumstances of the case, as you pointed out there, because of the location and where it was found, obviously elevate it. And with most things, there is a sliding scale. So in Ireland, for example, if you plead guilty at the earliest opportunity, you get a reduction in your sentence due to the fact that you've basically saved the court the time of going through a trial. So she pleaded guilty. On the scale of matters, it's probably on the lesser scale. But then again, you also have the fact that from the point of view of, you have a high profile individual. When people are caught drug smuggling in lots of countries around the world, there are lots of Irish people who have been arrested, unless they're on the high profile, like we had 2 young ladies who were caught in Peru and they became famous globally because they were on TV. But when you have someone on that high a scale getting a sentence like that, it's basically a bargaining chip, because you straight away have someone who, because of their profile, you had her team doing a 42-second, I think, you can't call it a minute of silence, a 42-second silence to mark out her jersey number during their game during the week. And the profile is so big. But then again, however disproportionate her sentence may be to what she actually did, at the same time, there needs to be a consideration about what you trade in this circumstance. And as Andrew rightly pointed out, there is a disproportionate benefit or risk factor here, because while the court may have to a certain extent upped her sentence, not necessarily, and not to my mind because she happens to be a black lesbian at all, but more so due to the fact that she probably is an American citizen. So to an extent they go, we're going to come down hard here. And as a result, they have a better bargaining chip with someone whose profile isn't going to disappear. My concern would be that as much as the US might like to get their citizens home, what is the effect of putting an arms dealer back loose
on the streets?
The rest of us.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. It becomes a case of, it also says to any country, okay, if we have someone high profile from the US and we happen to arrest them and we just push the level of sentence up, the charges are in order by the letter of the law, but we push the level of charges up, what will America give to get their citizens home? Because that has always been their...
But this would, hold on, they say they don't negotiate for hostages, because that's what happened in, and for right or wrong.
As a hostage, they're viewing her as unlawfully detained as a prisoner.
Exactly. I mean, before we go to Keane, I mean, when you look at, say, for example, when CNN reporting it, from when you look at it, and this goes again, this doesn't just go to the American noise, this goes around the world as well. So CNN, they say that there are 2 Americans detained in Russia, in jail in Russia, Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan. There are others here, and Paul Whelan, from my point of view, I still do not see the sense in it. It's not just because of an Irish background. I just still see a very, very strange situation. But Cian, I mean, it's a tough situation to deal with. You've got someone who was arrested for something that, Andrew and I can discuss it, that here drugs are everywhere. It's not like, but it's just simply this fact that bringing it in is seen as trafficking. In your point of view, is there an end in sight for this, or will it end up as a prisoner exchange?
I don't know, Alan, to be brutally honest. It's absolutely horrendous for any of the people that are in those situations. Brittney Griner is the person currently in this situation. It's absolutely horrendous. I mean, you go back over the years of all of the talks, and we'll give you this for this. It's just absolutely horrendous. I mean, I think she was sentenced to 9 years and fined X amount of money. So it's just, I mean, I hope her legal team can sort this out, and others, other American diplomats and things, and Russian diplomats can try and come to some amicable solution in the not too distant future.
One thing I'll just add before we go to a quick break, that playing here in Yekaterinburg, she's beloved by the team. That the Russian Basketball Union are helping her, they're supporting her, they're part paying her legal fees. There's an awful support being given to her as well. The fans very much inside. You see some of the forums, and they're thinking, come on, it's just like it's nothing. So their point of view jars heavily with the government, who are trying to crack down on drugs, because of course in the 90s, just basically drug abuse and drug use was just rampant across Russia. it really severely affected the population and everything basically. But at the same time, the sports fans are thinking this isn't right, and people are asking questions. So fingers crossed there will be a decent solution found to this. Okay.